Hello, incredible entrepreneur. This is episode number 390 of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast, and it's day 10 of Tashmas. Do you email your mailing list regularly? Are you struggling to email them consistently because you don't even really know what to include? Or you spend so much time creating your emails, you get very cranky when you realize only 8% of people have opened it. If you are looking to simplify and improve the effectiveness of your regular emails that you send to your list, this is going to be a very helpful episode for you because I'm going to share with you a brilliant and very simple newsletter structure, but it's one that creates trust, it builds open rates, and it's quick and easy for you to set it up, write it, and send it each time. Let's dive straight into this one. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Throughout Tashmas so far, we have talked a lot about consistency, especially consistency in relation to content marketing and building trust and being able to reliably predict your behavior. Well, when it comes to sending emails to your mailing list, there's nothing more important than ensuring you are building trust with your audience as you go. Now, the reason for this is the more you build trust, the more people open and read your emails. And with deliverability being something that we need to be paying a lot more attention to these days, that focus on consistency as a trust builder and reliably predicting your behavior is something that we need to ensure that we nail. Now, I also realize that throughout Tashmas, I seem to have mentioned newsletters and emails quite a lot as well, even last episode. So I thought that this was a great opportunity for us to look at your structure to your regular emails. I call them newsletters, but don't have to technically be newsletters, but an email that you send to your list each week or every second week or once a month. So your email that you send out to your mailing list regularly. And this is our opportunity to look at that structure and see if there are ways that we can make it more consistent, more trust building, or make it easier for you so that you don't have to spend all of your time every Wednesday morning spending hours trying to think of what to write. So I recommend using a simple structure that's straightforward, because we also want your structure of your emails to be quite predictable. And the reason that we want it to be predictable is because we want it to create that sense of trust and consistency. So if I know when I open your email, it's going to have this and this and this, and they're in that order pretty much most of the time. If I'm looking for the third part, I know I can just scroll straight down to it. So it's saving me time and I know what to expect. So I do recommend using the same structure to your emails each week or each time you send them, and making sure that each and every email is valuable for your readers. And this is something that I think people underestimate the value of, or their ability to be able to do it. So I actually say this in my welcome email when people first join my mailing list for the very first time, that I am very conscious of my sending habits, like spending habits, but like sending emails. I have to explain it, so it's not that clever, but my sending habits. I'm very, very mindful of those because I do not underestimate what a privilege it is to be invited into someone's inbox. And I am very upfront that I don't see people as just a number on my mailing list. I know that it's their time, it's their eyeballs, it's their attention that they have given me. And so I respect that. And in that way, I really do discern whenever I'm going to send an email to my mailing list, is this actually valuable? Is this actually going to help them? And so whether it be my regular newsletter or an email that I send in between because I want to let them know about something, or maybe I'm in the midst of a launch of something, I ensure that I ask myself that question before every email. Is this actually adding some value? Is this actually helping? And if I cannot confidently say yes, I don't send it. I just don't. And part of that is because I really value the trust that I have built with my audience. And I don't want to take that for granted and send them 16 emails over the course of 5 days, all just promoting stuff and wasting their time if they don't need that thing or they're not interested in that outcome. I would much rather send far less emails and be far more mindful of that attention and that respect that I have for my audience. And that means that I do have significantly higher than industry average open rates. And I'm not going to put that at risk. I don't want to put that at risk. So, what happens when we have an email structure that's straightforward and predictable and valuable is that people open your emails because they want to open your emails. They want to read what it is that you're writing. And they're not opening it simply because you tricked them into opening it by using RE at the start of the subject line to trick them and make them think that you were replying to their email, which I know is a strategy, and I see emails like that pop into my inbox quite a lot, and I unsubscribe from those ones. Or maybe using subject lines that don't match what you're actually talking about, or are so vague that people have to open it to work out if they need to read it or not. I actually was on a webinar a few weeks ago, and the person was talking about how they have created a file of over 100 email subject lines that could be interpreted as, I want to tell you about a product of mine, but actually they most likely sound like you've got something, or you're a paying client, or there's a reason why you definitely need to open this email. And I was just so icked by it. But that's the thing, is that if you don't focus on building trust with your audience, if you're only always focused on how can I sell to them, how can I trick them to opening this, then you will start to resort to some of those strategies, and you will think that, well, I need to do that because otherwise they don't open. And I would much rather have people open my emails because they want to open them, rather than because I lured them into reading them, or I used trickery or pretended it was about something else in order to achieve that. Now, I am not saying don't be interesting when you write your subject lines. I'm just saying that if you build trust and people open just based on the fact that they saw your name, you then don't have to rely on always coming up with these genius, alluring subject lines every single time you want to send your audience an email. So the structure that I recommend is a 3-part structure for your email. And this is for your regular newsletter. This is not for if you're sending an out-of-the-box like story or promo for something else, but for your regular newsletter. And the structure is love note, valuable content, and offer. So for most people, their email out to their mailing list coincides with a fresh piece of long form content on their chosen platform. So for me, it's my podcast episodes. Some people do YouTube channels, or they have a blog, or whatever it might be. So if you are using a content marketing strategy that includes what I would call a chunky piece of content each period, so you might do a fortnightly blog or a once a month YouTube video, or in most niches, it's generally weekly, then that would be where you would link to that valuable content in the second part of the structure. So let's go through each piece of this newsletter structure one at a time. So the first one is the love note. Now, the reason why I recommend starting with a love note is because, surprise, surprise, your email readers are humans. And guess what? You're a human too. And so the whole point of email is to communicate human to human. And by starting with what I call the love note, which is basically a friendly introduction, a generally conversational piece, what you're doing is recognizing the humanity in the reader rather than just diving straight into seeing them as a set of eyes that is consuming your content that you could sell to. So the love note in my newsletter, I include a picture of myself as well, a selfie. The reason why I do that is because I get better open rates when I include that photo. Now, that is despite the fact that some email readers blow that photo up to like take up the whole screen when people read the email. And I know that it's can be a little glitchy and weird for some people on their readers. We are like playing with it, and we send error issues to our sending platform very consistently. It is something that we're working on with them. So hopefully it will eventually be rectified. They tell us they've got a solution every few months, and it doesn't always work, but that's okay. But even though it can show up really wonky and weird for some people have actually told me the fact that it shows up so wonky and weird is the reason why they open the email. So whatever the reason having a photo in there works, it does. And so I continue to do that. And that photo is not a professional photo. That photo is a photo I have taken of myself, either on a timer, on my camera or my phone, or it's a photo I've taken, like literally a selfie or something like that. So I think part of it is that they're reading the love note and they're seeing my face. I think that connection really makes a big difference. And I notice it for myself. People who I get emails from where I get to see a photo of them and the photo is different each time. It's not just a fancy header or something like that. I do really value being able to see their face with it. I think it's also a reflection of what we see now on social media, which is that we're so used to people sharing updates on social media with a photo or with an image of themselves that it feels like it's more connected and it feels like it is more social. So feel free to include a photo in yours if you want to. But at the very minimum, we want to start the email with a love note. Now, my love note is generally like, here's what I'm up to this week, or here's something funny that happened, or I just got back from Taylor Swift, or I'm excited to go to Taylor Swift. There's a lot of Taylor Swift in my emails. But it's the kind of way that I would speak to a friend if I was sending them something as well. So it's conversational. It includes some updates. Now, sometimes those updates are about my business, right? So I might say, oh, it's virtual conference starting soon, or that was last week's, or I'm getting ready for this week's webinar, right? So sometimes I am talking about something that I'm doing, but I don't just talk about it through the lens of, oh, look at me dropping in that I've got a webinar coming up soon. It's not just talking about it through the lens of how could I work this into the conversation without it actually being of any value. And so if I'm going to talk about a webinar coming up soon, I might talk about how I've left it to the last minute to fix my slides up again, which is like a human thing. Or I might talk about, a piece of the webinar that I'm particularly excited to share. Or I might talk about how long it's been since I last did a webinar, right? So there's ways to talk about it, like that feels genuine. And I just write it from the heart. And that's why I call it a love note, because I really do see it as like sending a little love letter to every single person who receives my newsletter. So that is the first part of the email. Now, I should also say, if I refer to an upcoming webinar, for example, I will hyperlink the word webinar or the title of the webinar to the sign-up page for the webinar. So as people read through that love note, if I'm referencing something and they're like, oh, I wonder what that is, or, oh, I didn't see that, I should sign up for it, I make that really easy for them to do. So if I do mention any products or topics or things from my business where I can make it easy for people to quickly take action on that, I will hyperlink to that in the love note and make it quite obvious with an underline or make it bold or something like that so that they know that it's clickable. Because if people are interested in it, I want to make it easy for them to go and see it and understand it. So if I mention that I'm going for a new income goal and I've set up a progress artwork, some people might not know what that is. So I'll put a little link to it so that they don't have to ask me what it is. Or they don't have to go chasing it around the internet or searching through my website trying to figure out what on earth I'm talking about. So that's a little rule of thumb that I have for my love note as well, that I'm unapologetic about linking to things if I refer to something that's related to my business or a topic that people might have more questions about, because I want to make it easy for people to grab that extra information or go and sign up for something. Now, the second part of the newsletter structure is valuable content. So if you release a podcast in line with your newsletter, then you would share some preview text of that podcast episode and help people to make an informed decision about whether it's something they should go and listen to straight away, and then a really easy link for people to go and listen to it. So nice and simple and straightforward. If you do a YouTube video each week or a blog post each week or however regularly you send your emails, then linking off to that content by giving people a bit of insight and information to discern whether it's something that they want to listen to or watch or read is really helpful for them. It's saving them time. And also it's going to increase the consistency with which your audience are actually consuming that content. And that can do you a lot of favors in terms of momentum, algorithms, reach, subscriptions, all of those sorts of things. Now, again, you want that content to be valuable to those audience members. And that doesn't mean that it has to be valuable to every single person on your mailing list. But what it does mean is that you need to be able to help them decide if it's for them or not. So, for example, if I've got a podcast episode that's on launching online courses, then I want to make it really clear that this episode is for people who have online courses and they want to learn how to simplify or streamline their launches. Or this episode is for people who are worried that they've got a gap in their messaging because their messaging doesn't seem to land. If you don't have a gap in your messaging and your messaging's working really well, don't waste your time going listening to it right now. It's not a priority for you. So I think sometimes when people share about their content or share what they're asking people to go and check out, they're so afraid of telling people too much and then people will decide it's not for them. They're so afraid of not making it work for everyone that they never actually give us enough information, and it's never specific enough. The amount of times where I've been sent emails and it's promoting a podcast episode or it's promoting a YouTube video, and even in reading the email that's telling me about it, I still don't actually know what it's about. It's absolutely mind-boggling because it is such a common thing, but I do get the sense from what I read them saying is they're trying not to give an indication to people who might not need that they've sent them an email about something that they might not need. And that's kind of the opposite of what we want to do. We want to allow people to make an informed decision. So share a little bit of a preview or an explainer of a valuable piece of content and then a link over to that content so people can go and consume it. Now, if you don't do a regular piece of content as part of your marketing strategy, you can do this to a piece of content on social. So you could say, oh, the Facebook Live that I did last week was so popular. We were talking about A, B, and C. But again, make it really easy for people to decide if it's going to be a good use of their time. Because if that live was 32 minutes and you haven't given people enough information, then even if you get more people to click over to it, less people are actually going to watch it and they might even get a little bit, cranky with you because you've wasted their time. You've sent them over to go and watch something without enough information. And then when they got there, they realized they didn't need it. But you wasted 6 minutes of their time of them watching the first 6 minutes before they realized. So if you're going to send people over to any form of content, whether that be on social media or more SEO chunky content type of thing, then make sure that you do give us enough information to make an informed decision about whether it's going to help us or not. The third part of that email structure is to share an offer. And I think you should do this in every single newsletter. Now, that offer might not be a paid offer every single time, but it is promoting something. It is promoting your upcoming webinar. It's promoting your book. It's promoting your VIP package. It's promoting your course that is on early bird right now. It's promoting the workshop that you're running next month. Whatever it is, we want to ensure that we aren't assuming everyone knows every way that they could work with you. Everyone knows every single thing you've promoted on social media, because the other thing that this email does is it saves people from having to chase you around the internet to figure out what's going on and where all the best content is that you shared this week and what you're promoting. You're sending an email out to your mailing list. Your mailing list is your warmest audience. They are the people who value what you have to share and value the transformation that you facilitate so much, they're willing to give you a very precious asset / resource of theirs, a very private piece of information, and that is their email address. So rather than assuming everyone is reading your email because they want free content only and no one is interested in buying from you and writing your newsletter through that lens, not particularly magnetic, not particularly attracting the result that you are looking for. Instead, why not write your email through the lens of, I am sending this to my warmest audience. These people are the most likely to want to buy something from me. These people are on my mailing list because they want to hear from me. They want to work with me. They want to access the outcomes that I help people to achieve, and write it through that lens. And I mean, I can speak from experience because I'm on a lot of your mailing lists, dear listeners, and so many of your emails, they just seem to be screaming at me, I don't think people want to buy from me. I think people are just on my mailing list for the free stuff. I think people are going to be offended if I tell them how I could help them. And to be honest, that's a bit of a rude assumption for you to make about me. Thank you very much. And I would much rather that you speak to me through the lens of recognizing that maybe I gave you my email address because I'm actually deeply interested in what you do. And maybe I gave you my email address because I really, really want the outcome that you help people to achieve. And maybe I gave you my email address because if you're got a special offer on at the moment, or if you're running a webinar that's going to launch your course, or if you're doing live workshops soon, or if you've got anything that you are promoting, I'd really like to know about it so that I can actually make an informed decision. I would rather that you tell me about the offer and I decide not to buy it than for me to be sitting back here wondering, oh my gosh, I wonder if you could actually help me. And I don't know what you are doing at the moment, and it seems like maybe you're not taking any clients on right now. And here I am struggling with the very thing you could help me with and wondering, if you're booked out or, not seeing any promotions. So assuming that you haven't got anything that you're offering right now. And in fact, you are offering the very thing that I need, or you could help me with my exact problem, but you've decided I'm only on your mailing list for the free stuff. So it's the equivalent of having the most amazing solution to my problem and saying, you know what? No, I'm not going to tell you about it. No, I don't think I'm going to tell you about it this week, Tash, because I haven't sent emails a lot lately, and so you don't deserve to have my amazing offer. You don't deserve to have me help you achieve that outcome because I just think you're here for the free stuff. That is the assumption. Honestly, I know I'm being very sarcastic and snippy when I say it that way, and I am overemphasizing it, but that is what you are doing. That is the equivalent. And so instead of coming at it from the assumption that I don't want it, instead of sending emails out after email after email after email where you don't even whisper or mention products and services that you have to offer, why not Just get into the habit of using the same email structure each time, and every email finish with an offer. Tell me a way that you would be able to fast track my results or get me the outcome that I'm looking to achieve sooner. Alrighty, so hopefully you find that really helpful. If you have any questions about the structure of your emails or that newsletter, then please do make sure you come over to the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/390, because there you'll find a link to a post on my socials where you're welcome to ask any questions, share any insights that you got from the episode, or maybe you might share what the structure is that you use, because this isn't the world's most perfect email structure. It's just a really brilliant, really simple newsletter structure that makes it really easy for you to know exactly what to write it a little faster, and get that thing out very consistently. So please do come and join that conversation. In addition, you'll find a link to one of my free trainings. It's called Grow Your Audience. Now, this free training is for those of you who are listening to this and going, yeah, that's really great, Tash, but I don't really have anyone on my mailing list, or I only have like 28 people on my mailing list and I haven't emailed them in 6 months and I haven't promoted anything that would grow my list lately. So if you are feeling like your mailing list needs a little more numbers on it, you need a few more people in your audience, well, number one, definitely keep emailing the existing audience you have. Even if it's just one person on your mailing list, I want you to email them consistently. But also come and watch the Grow Your Audience training, because it is a 4-stage approach to audience growth. And the audience growth we focus on in that training is your mailing list. And I talk about why that is one audience that I do measure and focus on growing consistently. And also the different stages of email list growth, they stack on top of each other. And so sometimes people will listen to that training and they're like, oh my gosh, I just realized I'm doing all of the stage 3 things to grow my mailing list, but I've never done stage 1 or 2. And stage 1 or 2 would be far more effective. And I'm probably missing out on putting the exact right people who would most want to be on my mailing list on my mailing list. So make sure you go and check that one out. It's called Grow Your Audience, and the link will be at the show notes at tashcorbin.com/390. Now, I just want to also let you know, and I'm going to bring it down a little right now to let you know this little fun fact. In the Grow Your Audience training, there's a little Easter egg. There's a little nugget. It's an invitation. And I've had over 700 people do the Grow Your Audience training. And I reckon less than 20 have taken action on the little invitation. And that is a very, very powerful, very valuable little invitation. So if you are listening to the Grow Your Audience training and you hear that invitation, I just want to reiterate, like, it's genuine and take it up, because the people who have taken up that invitation, several of them have got some very, very, very valuable advice from me. Several of them have, through that invitation, actually made a sale. So please, please, please do make sure that you listen to that training. Don't just go and download it or save it in your digital graveyard, never to be looked at again. If you watch the training, there's a beautiful little Easter egg in there, and it is a genuine invitation. I shared this about the Easter egg maybe a year ago, and it was on a Facebook Live I was talking about it. I was like, I have this Easter egg thing, and no one ever takes action on it. And I reckon maybe 10 people were like, oh, well, I didn't think it would be you, or I didn't know if it was old and it didn't apply anymore. People made all these reasons why they weren't allowed to take up the invitation, like, despite the fact that I genuinely gave them an invitation. Anyway, it's in the training. You'll realize it when you come across it. So that's all over for you at tashcorbin.com/390. Thank you so much for joining me for day 10 of Tashmas. If you have any follow-up questions, don't forget to come over to that post on my socials and ask them there. It, yes, also does get you an entry into the mega draw. And I will see you tomorrow for day 11. Oh my gosh, it's the second last day of Tashmas. I also just want to let you know, tomorrow I am talking about some time-sucking marketing strategies that I see lots of people doing that you probably could stop doing. So listening to tomorrow's Tashmas video episode of the podcast is likely to save you quite a lot of time. So just wanted to share that one with you because I know some of you are binge listening to this and you're like, oh, there's still 2 to go, but tomorrow's one is going to save you time. So definitely recommend tuning in for that one. And until then, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.